I want you to think about that. If your life is a lot of chaos and unpredictability, and when things are calm, it feels uncomfortable. The question is your brain addicted to chaos? Do you feel like you have to constantly be doing something, or you feel guilty, or when you work out, you need to do those high intensity workouts in order to feel like you've done it right or felt the burn? Well, if so, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to ask you and try to figure out if you are addicted to chaos. Do you find comfort in the crazy? And so if that's you, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
For sure. I would say comfort in like constantly doing something, which doesn't seem crazy, but they are always like, I'm crazy. I'm always have to be doing something. And it's like, well, that's not good.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's so common too. So we're definitely going to break it down for you. If you want to jump to that segment of the show and not listen to our banter that we're going to start with, check out the show notes below to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So just got off a psych meeting.
Ooh, for yourself.
Correct.
Okay.
When we first started this podcast almost a year ago,
podcast.
It's almost our anniversary. We need to plan for that.
We need to do something for our anniversary.
Yeah, I agree. I had just gone on ADHD medication, and she had originally prescribed Wellbutrin because it's is like the one that shows the best results, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know about Wellbutrin because it shows like if you drink on Wellbutrin that you'll have a seizure. And I was like freaked out about that. So we moved to Strattera, whatever.
Yep.
Well, now I'm in my soberish era. We went back to it and she's like, look, you are going through it. Got a lot going on. Wellbutrin's also an antidepressant. And she's like, so why don't we try it again? Especially if you are not worried about the drinking side of things. And then when you go on a vacation and you want to have some cocktails, you just stop taking it a couple days beforehand. And I was like, why didn't anyone tell me that in the first place?
Because they just don't. I don't know.
Yeah. So going on some Wellbutrin, baby.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
She goes, well, have you ever considered that what you're going through in your life right now is actually the reason why your attention and motivation seems so poor? And I was like,
no. Yes.
Like, well, that lines up.
No, you don't say, do you?
Yeah. It's like, I'm not depressed, but she goes, depression isn't just, and depression
isn't just depression. There's a lot of ways.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe. I go, but I told her, I said, and this actually goes to what we're talking about today. I said, you know, in my life, I've been very resilient going through hard times. And there are these moments of like not feeling resilient. And so I just blame it on my ADHD. And not the fact that, you know, shit's happening all around.
Yeah. Like I'm sad, but I don't know that I'm sad.
I don't feel sad. That's the weird thing.
What do you feel?
I don't know.
Oh. Content? Really? Like numb content or just like neutral content?
Sometimes I feel numb, but that's mostly around like not that my dad is sick or like his situation. It's around like my mom and stuff.
Oh.
But I've said this before on this podcast that I've had a really wonderful life with my dad. So I don't have regrets. Like, of course, if he passes, like I'm going to be sad.
Well, yeah.
Like when the day came where I thought that was the last day I was going to see him, like I was sad, but I wasn't like like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like I have a lot of gratitude for the relationship that I have. And that gives me a lot of peace. And right now we're in a standstill. So it's kind of like, and this is never going to be my therapeutic approach, but it's kind of like, well, what's the point of worrying right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now with our clients, it'd be like, of course, like, okay. But for me, I'm like, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but also this is like, who was I talking to? Oh, it was Michael. And because we were talking about, because apparently, FYI, Michael likes mountains, which I had no idea Michael liked mountains.
Mountains?
Yeah, like he
Oh.
likes mountains and like pine trees and stuff. And I'm like, well, we've been vacationing the beach every year. He goes, yeah, I know, because you like it. I'm like,
Oh.
I mean, we could go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him about doing like a mini trip just up to Flagstaff and seeing like if we like that and like kind of find a place there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why don't we go in June? And apparently like his brother's birthday's in June, so they're going to go somewhere, but I'm not going to go because of the baby. And so I was like, well, because his family tends to plan things like, oh, tomorrow's April 4th. We should probably do something, you know? And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, why don't we plan something in June? That way it's starting to get hot and we can kind of break up the summer a little bit since we've got some other plans throughout the summer. And he's like, well, my family we're probably going to go somewhere for the brother's birthday. And I was like, but they don't know when. And he's like, right. And I said, okay, but we could decide when to go and then just say, hey, you can't go that one weekend that we're going to go to Flagstaff. And he's like, yeah, or we could just wait and see what they say. And I thought like, so we're not going to make any plans just because they might make like plans at some point. They might go. And so that makes what I'm saying is for you is like, you're not going to do anything at all just in case like dad doesn't do one way or the other. And it's like, well, that's not really fair. Like you should live your life too. And he wouldn't want you to do that.
No. So I think it'll be good. I think this will give me an opportunity to kind of even see like, okay,
do the drugs help?
Yeah. Was I really numb and just kind of being in this kind of toxic resiliency? I don't know. I don't think that's the truth.
Let's see. How long does it take to kick in?
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
Fuck that. It says 1 to 2 weeks according to ChatGPT, but a full effects on mood and depression can take 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, well, we'll see.
So, all right. Well,
I'm not sitting here like, I don't know. I was chatting with another client and I told her this like on Monday when I couldn't remember what I was just talking about like 3 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's a problem for me because my brain is my greatest asset. And it just started feeling very foggy. So I was like, okay, I need to maybe
figure that out.
Get some help with this right now. Maybe my brain's at capacity. And
did you have this appointment scheduled or on Monday you're like, okay, I got a schedule?
I had medication left over.
Ooh.
And it's fine. It was like this year's medication. And I needed a refill. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just make the appointment. I think I made the appointment. Actually, no, I made it yesterday.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was like yesterday.
What's the Jeopardy song?
Yeah, it was yesterday, you guys.
Okay.
Wow. This is what I need.
There's your sign.
We're back to that.
Yeah.
So it's good. No problem. No problem with having a little help.
We went to a lawyer yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
I know. So for the audience, if you don't know, Michael and I aren't married. We're just forever lovers. And so I was like, man, we have a kid. If something happens to one of us, like we have no rights to the other person, i.e. if he dies, I'm fucked. And so I was like, we should probably like get some things locked down legally. And so we went to the lawyer and she was just like, wow, you guys like don't have any. So we really don't like commingle our stuff. The only thing we have together is the house. And she was just like, you guys don't have anything together but the house. We're like, nope. So, yeah. Well, it's like, so, we're going to do, I guess, 2 separate trusts, which I have no idea what any of this means. And I was like, that all sounds great. And then, we talked about if we die, what's our chain of command for the kid? And then we talked.
Where am I in that?
You're not on it because you don't want kids.
I'll be a great godmother.
Well, godmother, but that's different than being like oh, you now have a kid because I died.
I would take over.
You would?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I will bring that up with him.
He's gonna be like, really, Christina?
Well, I mean, shit, I would want to come live with you my parents died.
Listen.
Yeah, you'd be like, "Okay, girl, we're going to go shopping.
Yes.
But you are going to get your crap together because you're going to be educated.
And we're going to grieve.
Yes. Yeah, actually.
Okay.
We might redo our names. So, yeah, we did that, and then we did like power of attorney and all that crap. So now we just got to like get the approval from them. I don't know. So it was really interesting though, because I was like, there's a lot of words here that I have no idea what anybody's saying at all. And Michael and the lawyer are like going back and forth. And I'm like, I thought, okay, like, okay.
I was smart until.
Yeah. I forget. My mom equated it to something else because I was telling her about it. And she's like, oh, it's probably like when people, oh, you know what she said? She said, it's like when you go to therapy with Michael and you and the therapist are going back and forth. And Michael's just like, oh, okay.
Right. Exactly.
I was like, that's exactly. Yeah. Actually, Christina would know. Like, I was like, yeah, that's probably exactly it.
Yep. No, it's like when I'm in my female entrepreneur group and they're talking about, you know, EBITDAs, and Mark talks about like EBITDA and all these
EBITDA and CUBITA
and BIBITDAs. I don't know what they are.
What's EBITDA?
I'm kidding. It's EBITDA. It's like earnings before
EBITDA. How do you even like? What's the
earnings? It's earnings before income. Distribution assets. I don't know.
Wait, well, what's the like the letters? E-I
E-B-I-D-A.
What are these college kids going to do? They don't even know the horrors. EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
I was way off.
You don't even know what is amortization.
Couldn't tell you.
We should probably know since we both have businesses. Refers to the gradually paying off debt or spreading it out the cost of an intangible asset of a time.
See, listen. Right. Okay, I'm sorry, everyone listening. Everything when you're saying these words, my body goes.
When I'm reading these words, I'm like, don't know.
No. Like that's what Mark does all day is look at EBITDAs. And there's a bunch of stuff, you guys. I wish I could remember because like when I was in front of his crew of work people and I was like,
oh God.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you what I know. And I said the EBITDA and the this and that and the da-da-da, and they're like, wow. And I go, I hear that shit all day. And I go, oh, and then I'll say one of their like people's names of one of the companies they own. I'm like, oh, and I hear that Shannon at such and such. Shannon. Yeah. So anyway,
Michael today, we were talking about money and I said something like, and I was like, I don't know math. And he's like, yeah, math.
Yep. It's a thing and it's okay. So for those listening, I'm in 2 entrepreneur groups myself. Yeah. But they all kind of work in the same circles. Uh-huh. So in the one, it's 10 of us girls and I am probably the smallest business in that group. And in the other, there's like 6 or 7 of us. And I'm probably one of the most successful businesses in that group.
Interesting.
I know. All right. My brain is chaos, as we've figured it out. And no, it's not. I'm not addicted to chaos. That's for damn sure. However, I have been that in my life.
Mm-hmm. Same.
By the way, the psychiatrist like, have you ever had an eating disorder? I go, not formally diagnosed. No. So we had to have that whole conversation. A lot of us feel stuck. A lot of clients that come to us, women come to us, people I talk to on social media come to us because they feel stuck in doing too much. Mm-hmm. My favorite line is there's just not enough hours in the day. Mm-hmm. Right? They're saying yes to everything. They feel like they have to do it all. Mm-hmm. And it's not even they feel like they have to. They do it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they do it.
Well, because I'll hear like, it's easier if I just get it done. Or like, I just feel like I always need to be doing something. And I'm like, ooh, red flags.
Correct. And one of my clients, I remember her saying like, it feels so not safe to slow down. And when we actually put it together, which we'll talk about, there was a reason for that. Mm-hmm. There is this kind of idea, like if I relax, I'm doing something wrong, like it's unsafe. Stillness equals failure. I'm being lazy. And even in workouts, like, oh, I'm not doing enough. So I failed. I had a great conversation with some gals who are friends because they all worked in a former fitness coaching program.
Uh-huh.
And
oh, wait, your call group.
yeah, I had a call
Was
with
that
them.
Monday? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
It went so well.
Good.
It was great. And I had said that to one of the gals. She's like, I used to work out, and she was an athlete. And for some reason, she just can't do it. And then I had asked her a couple things like, does it feel like this? Does it feel like this? Like, does it feel like this? Which one is true for you? She goes, the failure piece. Like, if I don't do it in that, especially in that athlete mind, if I don't do it in the hustle way that I know that I'm used to, then it feels like I've failed. Right. So, I want you to think about that. If your life is a lot of chaos and unpredictability, and when things are calm, it feels uncomfortable. The question is your brain addicted to chaos? So, want to kind of understand, like, how does this develop, right? And why our brains might crave that chaos, or like I said, how else would you describe it? Just clutter.
Yeah, a need for task, perpetual need for tasking.
Quality control checklisting yourself.
Yeah.
Micromanaging yourself. Right? You're that boss who, if you've got time to lean, you got time to clean, for all of those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That worked in the restaurant industry. It's like, you can't not be doing something, which I get in like a restaurant, because I'd be like, that's the worst when you're at a restaurant and you need something and you just see these people over there standing and you're just like, hey,
like, hands, could use some hands.
I need some help here. Yeah.
So I want to talk about like why your brain uses dopamine to create this busyness. So as we talked about, our dopamine is kind of that rush feeling that you're looking for. It's that gratitude feeling. It's that like, oh, yay, I got it done. And then, but the problem with that is that you're always needing more to reach that pinnacle of like satisfaction for yourself. And so when we're always constantly, there's like that bottom baseline of being busy, right? Well, we've met that. Well, now we need to exceed that busyness and add on more and more and more so we can get that feel good feeling continually. And when we look at that, it comes into conflict of what our body needs versus what we make it do. So going back to that, our brain isn't listening to our body. Our brain is controlling our body. And where is that coming from? Because it's not like you just woke up one day and were like, I just need to be busy all the time, right?
Right.
And most of the time for our clients, when we ask, like, do you really need to be this busy? Like, can we really ask for help? They'll say, like we suggested in the first part of this episode, of like, they just need to do it themselves. It's better if they do it themselves. They can just get it done faster, or they kind of just feel better. Like they get validation from doing task, right? And so that cycles that dopamine circle of like, hit, I need more, hit, I need more, hit, I need more. It's think of like a casino, right? That's why people don't stop gambling, is because they're always searching for that next little hit of that rush.
Right.
So what happens is at some point this was caused or can be attributed to our past experiences. So what was your childhood like? What did you have trauma? Big T, little t. You had high pressure situations that you had to continually perform in. And like, where did you interpret those messages that you received? How did you have those? So for example, for me, like growing up, my mom would be like, let's just do a 5-minute pickup, and meaning let's just pick up the house for 5 minutes and then we can relax. Well, you do that, but then it's like, okay, I'll start here. Okay, now I start here. And then it becomes 10 minutes later because now I start working on something else. And then you start cleaning the whole house. And so there's not really time there wasn't a message of rest. It was always like, well, I might as well just do 5 minutes of that. But then it became longer and longer. And that came into my adult life too, like within our house and sharing it with a significant other.
Yeah. Well, and I'm trying to, I'm thinking about where the dopamine hit starts. So if you have a parent who is away, they're away at work or they're mentally not there, and then you're wanting their attention, wanting their approval, and then you do something like you get the A, right? Or they need your help on something and you help and you get that reinforcement. That's that dopamine hit. And then there's this space in between that dopamine hit and the next. So as we get older, and the next one may be something similar, like you said, that achievement, being helpful, whatever that looks like. So as we get older, we tend to learn like, oh, like I can recreate this in saying yes and taking on tasks and being successful at them. And, ultimately that's where we tend to go into these extremes and this kind of, as we've talked about before, toxic resilience. But the other part of this that we're not actually discussing is, we are discussing it, but we're not, is the helper in you as well.
Okay.
Because oftentimes you just don't have, your no is gone. Right? We talk about it all the time. Babies they very much have an established no, N-O, from birth. And somewhere along the way, their no is taken away from them, where they have, they have to take on too many responsibilities. They're put in parentified child roles. That becomes their identity to take care of others. So saying no was never an option, because saying no would be disappointing mom and dad, and never would we do that. Plus, I get to be put in a position of power. So that gives me that dopamine rush. But then when I mess up, because I'm a child, I also get criticized, which is the thing I want to avoid even more. So I take on more of these responsibilities and try to be perfect at them. And so that's another side to it. So you could have both, right? That environment that was really high pressure, or you only received praise when we are doing, achieving, being busy, right? And the slight difference from the other is more of that caretaking rather than the achievement of like, that's all I know. That's the only role I know, is to say yes, say yes, say yes. Especially, guys, think about a parent. They're like, well, if you really loved me, you'd help mommy.
Oh.
Or, mommy can't do this without you. Like these very codependent and mesh type of statements, which I people say shit like that.
Yeah.
Look what you're doing to your mother. Right. And that is, obviously very shaming. And that's how a lot of these things are created in our minds.
Well, and it becomes that kind of mindset is comfortable. It becomes something that just becomes your norm, right? So to do the uncomfortable thing of saying no or taking a break is not even thought of until someone else points it out or challenges you to do that either.
Right. Well, I want to introduce the concept of emotional addiction, where our brains become used to. So if I, smoke cigarettes, my brain is going to become used to receiving the tobacco, the nicotine, the carcinogens. And if I'm going to need more and more of that. The same is true with your stress hormones. If that's all the brain knows, to be under stress, then that's going to be your comfort zone. You're going to get addicted to that emotional state.
Well, I was going to give an example of somebody that I know. And it's because it's interesting you say this. So for example, their job is pretty high stress. They're gone for about 16 hours a day, and they have a family as well. And within that family, obviously there are stressors, just having a family, raising kids, making sure there's a roof over your head. There's some health concerns going on. And then on top of that, you have your, not only the work environment, but like the politics of work as a stressor as well. So then what they do is they wake up at 3:30 in the morning and go for a run. Right. And I am talking to their counterpart, their spouse, about this. And I'm like, that's a stress. Like doing all of that plus inconsistent sleep. You're waking up at 3:30 in the morning, you go for a run. That's pretty stressful just on the body in itself. And then, you're working 16-hour days. And so the response of the person that's doing this is saying that they are so stressed that stressing their body in addition to that, so doing the run actually makes the day-to-day stress more level, right? So it makes it more normalized. It makes it less stressful because the run created so much stress and like adrenaline for them. And I was like, that's not good. We've got to work on that.
Right. You're trying to find your toxic homeostasis because that's all you know. You don't know what it feels like to live in a body that isn't constantly stressed out or chaotic. And this can translate to your relationships, right? This can be where I only get in relationships with people who we fight from the get-go. We have these big explosive fights and then this
come
big
back
explosive
together. Sex. Yeah. Like the sex is really great. And then the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just that constant, you guys know that person. It can translate into relationships very easily. And I want you guys to hear, like, a lot of women specifically, because we're put into these caretaker roles and, you know, we have so much on us right now to achieve, to be the mom, to be the business owner, to be the wife, whatever. You know, it's very common. It's more common for us. And we talk about all the time that, you know, you and Greg might be in the same position, but Greg gets off work at 3 p.m. and goes plays golf for his goddamn self because he doesn't give a shit about saying yes. Greg doesn't live in chaos because Greg was raised in a society where Greg could do no wrong and everything he does is great. So actually that wouldn't be a good example, but Greg has different standards that he had to hold up to, whereas you do not. And it's crazy to me because you'll see women in businesses and their male counterparts literally will be at happy hour at 4 p.m. while they're just having their fourth cup of coffee because they're going to stay there till 8 p.m. While Greg is at happy hour. Greg actually makes more money than her too, you know? So it's annoying.
Yes.
Would you add anything to that?
No, I was going to say, how do we know that someone might be addicted to the chaos?
Yeah. So, you know, think about like what your relationship is like with slowing down. Right. I think about myself right now as someone who normally would go out, right, and socialize and like need to be around other people. That's not necessarily something I'm doing. And I love it. But for you, that might feel really uncomfortable, right? Are you uncomfortable when there's nothing? I wouldn't even say nothing on your to-do list because there's always something on my to-do list. I'm just choosing not to do it. I'm choosing to relax instead. So do you have relaxation remorse? That's a big one. Do you feel like you should be doing something, or, oh, I just sat here and watched, you know, Love is Blind. Are you punishing yourself for that? That would be one thing to ask. What else would you ask?
I would say, like, are you always trying to make plans so you have something every day? So it's like your calendar filled, you know, like, do you always take on more at work, right? Rather than saying like, that's enough. My plate's pretty full.
Yeah. Do you, again, is there these, like, what is the story you tell yourself about rest, about being slow, about laziness, right? Do you have beliefs around what other people think you need to do? Do you have beliefs about if you don't say yes to the tasks, how others might perceive you? Are those beliefs negative? That's really important to know. And do you struggle with just sitting with yourself? I think that's the biggest thing here. Like, do you struggle with sitting with yourself when things feel content or peaceful? A lot of people are searching for these high highs, low lows. It's kind of like the conversation we started off with of like depression. It's not always this immense sadness. It could be distraction. It could be brain fog. It can be fatigue, right? It doesn't have to be this low, right? And, you know, anxiety doesn't have to be this high either. And, you know, for some of us, like, we're kind of in this middle ground of how we're feeling, but we also need to realize that these emotions all are transient. They should come and go. So if they're not coming and going, that's something we need to look at. And, you know, if being content is actually the worst feeling in your life, that's a fucking problem. Like, being content, feeling
like the idea of being calm and content and like just relaxing for the day.
Yeah. I don't even say, and I want to take content away from calm and relaxed. I think you have to do things to make yourself feel calm and relaxed. Whereas being content is like, I don't feel anything either way, and that's okay. We really don't talk about that feeling enough of, I'm not up, I'm not down, I'm just am, and that's okay, because emotions are fucking transient. They're not supposed to stick around.
Yeah, I have an example, like, for a postpartum, now that you're saying this, because I'm like, Oh, I have this right now. Of course. So like for example, I like with the baby, like even today, I was like, man, I should be playing with her and like engaging with her a lot because I'm not going to see her for these couple hours. And then it's the afternoon and blah blah blah. And I thought like maybe me just carrying her around and having her join with me and do tasks and chat with her, like that's enough. It doesn't have to be like a high of like, we got to play the games and we got to, do the tummy time and all the crap that you're supposed to do with the baby. And like maybe just walking around the house with her and hanging out in the garage with her is just fine.
Right. Well, and she needs some independence too, because
Mm-hmm.
what we don't want to do is create a dependent child.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you being able to like not be all up in her face, but be near her so she knows attachment wise, like there she is, I'm safe. Right. And then you maybe go do a task, walk away from her a little bit, you come back. Right. Like that's to me, yeah, I think that's actually healthier for everyone.
Right. As opposed to like having the structured routine and trying to fill it every moment that she's awake.
I think that's where that helicoptering starts. And then they lose their identity. They become too dependent on the parent, so
yeah.
But yeah, content and being content as a feeling can describe an emotional experience, right? Feeling satisfied, peaceful, okay with where you're at, right? It can also be a state of being. It can also describe a more sustained and general condition, a state of acceptance or non-striving. Example, she lives in a state of contentment, no longer chasing external validation. So think of it like this. Feeling content equals monetary emotion. A state of contentment is ongoing internal position or mindset. So that's something I want people to understand. Like, it's okay. I guess what we were talking about is like, are you addicted to chaos? If that content state or feeling is like causing anxiety, then that's your sign. Here's your sign. So let's talk about how to break this cycle, of course.
Okay.
Number one, we want to understand kind of where this comes from. Because a lot of times we just think, I'm just so busy. And people wear this shit as a badge of honor. I'm just so busy. Like I listen. It's my favorite thing when people like to tell me how busy they are. And now, yes, I don't have kids. And I think people think because I don't have kids, I couldn't possibly understand how busy they are. And I'm like, okay, great. And then they like use it as a excuse. I don't know, like this identity. It's an identity. Like I'm just too busy. And I'm like, great. And why we need to understand where that comes from is actually you're not too busy. Your brain has been conditioned to think that this is your state of normal. And that comes from X, Y, and Z. So I think step one, just kind of figure out where this started from, because this isn't like the fact that you have brown eyes. This is something that was conditioned and you learned over time. So kind of detaching from the identity.
And why is it important that you're always busy? So looking back of where it comes from, but then also looking in the present and like what value you're getting from it. Like, for example, so going back to for me of why is it important that I'm always doing something with the baby? Like what does that, and it becomes from a sense of fear of like, if I don't do it, like she'll developmentally not exceed or, meet the milestones. And it's like, but is that really true? And going, yeah, correct. No, because
again, she will do too much of something.
Well, correct. And like at some point it's like, oh my God, okay.
Everything in moderation.
So I think it's like thinking of looking back why I feel this way, but also why is it important? Like, do I get more value out of myself if I tell everybody that I've done tummy time for 5 hours today? Like, no one cares. You know what I mean? No one cares.
That's a great thing for people to ask. Like,
yeah,
do I feel more value in myself because I did this and that?
Yeah. Like, am I more valuable because, the laundry's folded when I just kind of wanted to rest and lay in bed?
Right.
And
I want to come back down to that. But step one, let's kind of just begin to recognize that it is actually an issue and not this badge of honor / better than identity that you need to sit with or be boast about. Right.
Yeah.
Number two, again, recognizing of what it looks like in the moment, what it feels like in the moment, and understanding, the thoughts behind it. So if I don't say yes to this, then I hear it all the time. I'm going to feel guilty. People are not going to like me. I want to be likable by people. I'm not going to get ahead. someone else is going to get ahead, by saying yes to this. I'm going to be seen as, less than, especially in like a male dominated field. What else? What else would you add to some of the thoughts people have when they like fear saying no or slowing down?
That they won't get ahead, like that they'll lose an opportunity, that sometimes they make it a competition when it's not,
That's good.
Yeah, like they all of a like there's a scenario and I'm like, but you're not in competition. You're just doing this.
Right. I always say like women think that the other woman's going to steal their slice of the pie.
Yeah.
And I say, no, we're women. We make our own fucking pie.
Yeah.
But with boundaries, when we have time, when we don't need to rest, that's when we make our pie. And then one of the things that, like I said, my client was like, I just feel fear because her dad would come in and actually be like, you need to do something. And he would get angry at them because he was an immigrant. He came to this country to provide them a better life. And how dare they sit and read?
Well, I have to watch myself too with Michael with this because I'll be like, what are you doing? And he's like, can I just relax? And it's like, but we got to do all this stuff. And he's like, okay, does it need to be done right this second? And it's like, no,
This has been an ongoing issue for my friend here.
Yeah.
We've been working on this since 2020. Was it 2020 or 2019?
I don't know. A while.
Was it before COVID or after?
During.
Okay.
Yeah. I had to think about that of like where we're at during.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I have to really like ask myself, like, before I say anything, does it really matter? And luckily for him, he's like, no, I'm not doing that right now. Like I just got done working. I'm chilling.
Yeah. Is it urgent and important?
Yeah. No.
If it's not, you can schedule it, right? Yeah. Or delegate it or not do it at all. I'll come back to that. Okay. So we want to recognize it. What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? And start kind of questioning like why slowing down makes you feel so uneasy, right? Get curious, as we say, but have compassion. Like whenever we're talking about changing these behaviors, what we don't want you to do is come through this with like criticism, like, oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I'm still doing this. Like, of course you are. You thought that this was something good.
Well, that brought value to who you are as a person.
Right.
That made you worthy of existing.
Right. So have some compassion there. And from there, start to reframe, whether it's, I can take this time for myself. I'm allowed to take this time for myself. Everything in moderation, including work and rest. Because what you're fearing is you're just going to be this couch potato.
Yeah, but that's not who the person that's listening to this and going like, I know, girls. Like, you're not a couch potato. Like, that's just not who it's like. I put it as the same category, and even it's probably the same person of the clients who are so fearful to not work out every day. It's like, look, you work out every day. You're going to go to the gym the 3 times a week that I program you.
Right.
Like, it's just part of what you do.
Right.
And it's okay to kind of back that off. Yeah.
Then, as you just said, like back off and like having these small like doses of stillness. So learning to sit for a minute, right? When I think it's important, like when you have something to do. I do this naturally where I'll be working, but my brain just is like, I'm going to watch TikTok for 5 minutes. And then I do it for 5 minutes and then I'm done. And I'm like, okay, let's go back. Or the big thing is like going out with the girls, like just spending. And it's funny because one of them will just walk up to me and it'll be my reminder, like, my dog wants me to spend some time with it right now. Or like Mark the other day just like walked up to me in the kitchen and like gave me a kiss and we just kind of stood there, and it like reminded me like you already have some of these built-in rests, like take those moments. So I guess for the second part to that is already look at where your built-in rests can be. So if you've got a cat or a dog or a baby, that you can take this time to just like be still and play. A baby might not be the answer though, if that's the thing that we're having trouble like moderating our time with.
Well, but here I can make that actually be in practice because like, so for example, if you're, feeling like you always need to be doing something with the baby to help them developmentally, And especially with like social media right now, it's like, do this for your 3 to 4 month old, do this for, to on the wake windows. But like, honestly, sometimes I just put her on the bed and she loves ceiling fans. Most babies do. And I'll just lay there looking at the ceiling fan with her.
Love.
And that's our play, right? Like, I'm not having to really entertain her. The ceiling fan is. And I just kind of chat with her and kind of mimic her or whatever. But even like for me, one of the things that really helped me postpartum was actually during pregnancy in my first trimester when I wasn't feeling great, like when I was really low energy or just nauseous, excuse me. And like, I just needed to lay down. I would lay down, but of course that guilt would come in of like, oh, I really need to do like the dishes, and I really could like message some clients back. I really could pick up and do whatever it is. But I would tell myself like, I need to learn how to do this now, because postpartum in those initial weeks, I'm going to have to be able to rest then too.
Right.
So I'm going to need to, like, if I can practice this now, then I can feel much better when I actually have to do it postpartum as well.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And, during this time, we didn't mention this when you're talking about, like where did this come from? But I want to add to that, like what you're just talking about, like, what is the fear, right? What is the fear of stepping back? What is the fear of if, you rest, or the fear of looking at the ceiling and talking versus being interface and playing? Like, I think that if we go back to step one, add that to kind of understanding what's underneath it. I guess it could be step one or step two, right? And when we're analyzing the behavior and kind of making sense of it, where it came from, and then what it feels like, sounds like, smells like, tastes like, we want to also think about what are the fears behind that, right? And then the next thing is, as you're saying, like, build up to creating this structure of slowing down and being okay and saying, look, I want to say that every time we slow somebody down, whether it be through workouts, through stress management skills, through whatever, they end up seeing results in their bodies, of course, when we slow them down in exercise that they've never seen in their lives. And they show up differently in a more productive way and more effective, efficient way in their careers, their households, whatever it is.
Well, take my client, for example, that was the optometrist, where she didn't slow down during work when she skipped lunch and then was falling behind on her work, felt fatigued at the end of the day. And I mean, she obviously got her workouts done. She obviously got her meal prep done because she would push through. But then once she stopped and actually started eating lunch, her work all of a sudden improved. Her fatigue all of a sudden improved. So doing the opposite of what she thought gave her what she needed.
Yep. Yeah. You definitely, again, you need to rest. You need to slow down. Like, I always think of Olivia, such a wonderful example of like, while she sleeps, and obviously she's growing faster than what we are now, but we've always had the ability to rest on our own until it was taken away from us. So, challenge of the week, find one small way to slow down each day.
Oh, each day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, even set a timer and practicing it that way.
Yeah.
If
it's you love that one friend across the hall or across the floor that is in the cubicle, go walk over there with her and you sip on that tea. That can, you talk about some people. Do it.
We used to do that in the morning at my old job. Is like in the morning we'd have like our little coffee chats.
Oh,
and it was so fun. It was so like we would all make sure we didn't start until 8:30 with patients, even though we got there at 8, and we'd just sit and chat and be like, okay. Yeah.
I was dating when I worked at Child Help, and we were such a close, like, knit group, and it would always be like what dates I went on.
Yeah. Who was doing who and what's like.
Everyone was dating actually. And then one of the therapists started dating one of the guys from like the Child Protective Services. And like, we all just like talk. And we had no boundaries. So what's one way you can slow down this week or each day this week? Again, I have a built-in way because I have two little puppies that say, they literally will sit in front of me. It's crazy because they're like, And whenever I see it, like it snaps me out.
Yeah. Of like, okay, hello, sorry.
She's asking for my attention, you know? So, good. Just a reminder, you're not lazy for needing to rest. You need to find your rest again. Thank you guys. We hope you found this helpful. If you have that friend who needs to slow the F down, please share this with them. Share this podcast with the world, as that helps us. Also, what helps us is giving us a 5-star rating and review, and making sure you're following and subscribing wherever it is you are watching or listening to this. Check out the show notes for information on where to follow us in other areas, as we're always providing information like this. But other than that, we want to leave you with this one last thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. That was a very long way to say
what you say in the mind.
You see in the mirror.
Well, maybe we need to slow it down.
We're slowing down.
There we go.
Goodbye.
Bye.